So Michael Wilson is the director of Bicester Maids Specialist Cleaning Service. So I can't get my words out today. It's a specialist cleaning company covering domestic and commercial cleaning, including things like biohazard services. How are you today, Michael?
Very good, thank you.
Fantastic. Listen, firstly, thank you ever so much for taking the time out of your busy day to join us and share some of your story. It'd be great if you could just share with the listeners to start off with, what it is that you do and what services you actually offer.
So since 2014, we actually started as just a normal actually domestic cleaning company we did. With actually commercial, but since then we've now grown into more biohazard and like a one-stop short for actually companies. So we offer like a range of services in-house now. So that means you haven't got to find sort of actually different actually people to do different work in-house we do. So we do actually domestic, commercial, biohazard, carpets, ovens, window cleaning as well. So we do quite a sort of range for ourselves.
Yeah, it's quite a diverse range of services then.
Yeah, whereas more is less, if you have a look in the area where we are, you might just have like a normal cleaning company, which will only concentrate more on actually domestic and maybe some sort of commercial they might branch into. But with us, we more or less offer more in-house after we've been speaking to people that they just want one service to try and take care of everything that they've got.
Okay. So you started off primarily as domestic and a bit of commercial.
Domestic and commercial.
What sort of made you want to branch out and go into those other areas?
Sort of something actually different, really. That when I actually did the actually clean end, somebody asked me, "Oh, well, actually, could you clean the oven?" When I was doing like an end of tenancy, so it was something new to me. It was, and I was like, "Oh, actually, oven cleaning." So I actually sort of actually just got myself something to clean the oven with. I did, and I thought, why not? Sort of give it a go. So I actually gave it a go. I did, and then I sort of got quite excited about it, sort of thing, seeing the oven looking not actually dirty, but sort of like back to new, like
Yeah.
a before and after sort of thing. So after that, once I got into that, it was more that I would branch into other things. Someone would ask me to do the carpets and the end of tenancy. So when you have an end of tenancy, you'd have carpets, ovens, windows with the cleanings. That's four things that you have to find four actually different people for, which there is a lot of people that don't want to find them for different people because it would take more of their time and up area sort of thing. Whereas us lot can offer more to them. We can the four services in
Yeah.
house.
Yeah. So you kind of recognize there was a customer demand for something, there was a need for something, and then rather than sticking to your area of speciality is
Yeah.
branching out and actually adding those services to what you offer.
Yeah, so we offer quite a bit now. We do since 2014. We've actually recently, within the last year, we've been doing biohazard. We have.
So that's
Uh,
quite a big jump going from cleaning ovens and sort of domestic
yeah,
biohazards.
the amount of questions we get asked from actually sort of people is, can you actually do it? How actually can you do it? That I actually take
Yeah.
my hat off to you. I do
Yeah.
because I actually wouldn't be able to do it. But I always explain to people that somebody has to do it really because you have to think of the family you do sort of thing. That if you was in that situation, you would be happy and knowing that somebody is actually sorting it out for them and taking the pressure off them really.
Yeah.
But I've only been doing it for the last year and I've learned so much from it. I have. It's been like a whirlwind,
I
different
imagine.
things sort of thing that I've seen. So it's more services really that we can offer now, sort of thing. I've done, say, like a road clearance where someone's fly tip sort of thing. So it's something different that you've got to go and collect it, or something like actually different, really,
Quite
in life.
diverse. Keeps it interesting for you.
Keeps you
Uh,
interested, sort of thing, and on your toes.
I'll come back to the sort of team and training and keeping up to date with sort of latest regulations in a second. Before we go into that, be interesting to go back to 2014. If you had the opportunity to sort of start again, go back to then and start off again, would you do anything differently? And if so, what sort of things would you do different?
From the biohazard for last year, I'd say that I'd have a look around to try and do biohazard at the same time I would.
Okay.
Uh, Back in the day, sort of thing, because it's really interesting. It is really that you see this happiness on, not the happiness, but you see like the relief on someone's face once you've sorted it out, sort of thing for them. You've helped them because they don't know who to turn to, sort of thing. So I'd add that more. But I wouldn't say there's much that I'd change, sort of thing. I'd always say when I first started in 2014, I'd always think that let's actually get big straight away.
Yeah.
Sort of go big, 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 big. But as you go sort of bigger, 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 you're actually losing the focus more or less as seeing the customer as the customer sort of thing. So when I speak to a lot of actually customers, they always say that they've used a bigger company, but they see them as a number,
Yeah.
not as a person. Whereas here, there's about 10 to 12 of us, there is, but we see them as more or less as a person. So I might be out cleaning to help them, I might be. Then actually the person sees who actually owns it and, oh, hi, how are you? And then I always ask them how everything is going, sort of thing. So it's the rapport that you have.
Yeah, maintain that maintain that relationship with your customers.
Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of sort of learnings over the years, so you're 10 years in, you know, you've survived some challenges with COVID and all those sort of things. What would you say your biggest learnings over the last 10 years as a business owner?
The biggest learnings I'd say is that we did have COVID. So that was the biggest learning. Because of the lockdowns and stuff, the first one that nobody was allowed to work, were they, sort of thing.
Mm.
So we had to shut down completely for a couple of months, but we then held a few key positions we did, which we could go to work on the second lockdown. But during them time sort of thing is that we had to rebuild 3 or 4 times.
Okay, so you pivoted the business and sort of regrouped in terms of what you're
So
doing.
basically, during COVID and before it happened, a lot of people cancelled their day because of the effect. Nobody knew what was happening.
Yeah,
So then we were, say, going from like 200 customers, we could drop down to about 100. We could.
yeah,
You do a month. So we had to rebuild back up. So over the 3 actually months, I don't know how long we had COVID for, but we had to keep rebuilding. We did.
okay.
Because a lot of customers were still scared, or a lot of just didn't have us back. So we basically had to rebuild. We did.
So what sort of things did you do to adapt to the changing marketplace? And
So we had to make some adaptations because of COVID. We did.
yeah,
So we actually re-advertised. We did. Most of it is word of mouth that they see
yeah,
us now. They do, or it's actually vans, which we've rebranded the vans, which you'll see them around now. They stand out. Some of it's actually TikTok now that we've got into, sort of thing. So it's all about the learning curves that we're going forwards now, because everything's changing to technology, isn't it? Before
yeah.
when I started in 2014, it was a leaflet through the letterbox. It was now
Yeah.
is that you use a QR code, and you can scan to see what people do.
It's interesting you sort of mentioned quite a few sort of marketing strategies there, because one of the temptations in difficult times is for business owners to switch off marketing and sort of cut costs and things. But there's studies that show that people that spend time and effort and put resources to marketing in difficult times then recover quicker and come
Mhm.
out as a stronger business. Was that a conscious decision, or was that something you just sort of gut
That's
instinct?
something we did, sort of thing. Like during the time, I know that a lot of people were getting laid off, weren't they? Before actually furlough come in, it did.
Yeah,
So companies were actually making redundancies, but we weren't, sort of thing. So we kept going. We did to the last end till we had to physically stop that day, like when they made the announcements. We carried on, and then we carried on going with the staff we did when we had to shut down. Then furlough kicked in, so we'd furloughed everybody. But as soon as we got the go ahead that actually cleaning companies can go back, we started to get everyone back, sort of thing, and rebuild, um, to re-advertise, to build us back up of how actually we are. So today we're in a stronger position now than ever, really.
that's a great story. That's a great good news story. In terms of the team, then you say you got 10 to 12 members of team
Yeah.
around you. What sort of qualities do you look for in your team members, and how do you sort of keep a productive working environment? You know, foster that sort of customer service culture, or those sort of
Um,
things.
so we have like actually dedication. So all of our actually staff are very actually dedicated to the company. They're very
Mhm.
dedicated to the customers they are. So our actually teams work in teams of two, they do. So
Okay.
they start in teams of two, they do. So they sort of work together. Me and my wife work in the office, we do. So we own it together, we do. So we're like the duo, as they call it, sort of thing,
Yeah.
husband and wife, that we live together, work together. But the qualities that we look for in the team is actually dedication, self-motivation, really, open-mindedness,
Yeah.
um, and just really that we see the team going forwards with us. They do, sort of
Yeah.
thing.
So it's
Like
inclusive. They're part of that.
Yeah, they're actually like part of the furniture, as they call it, sort of thing. They're like
Yeah,
part of the family, as we call it. They are.
very
Um,
good.
because as we say that we are family run sort of thing, me and my wife own it together, we do sort of thing.
Yeah,
We run it day to day, we do.
sounds good. Sounds good. In terms of future, then, so you've seen some challenges. You've adapted the business in several ways. You've gone from domestic, commercial into biohazard. Where do you see the next 5 years? What sort of things are you looking to do over the next
So the
12
next
months?
5 years, the actually position that we're in is actually really good now.
Yeah.
But the next 5 years, I'd say that domestic and commercial are doing really well for their sales, really. They
Okay.
don't need to push it, sort of thing. We have sales, we have actually people contact us daily. There's so much going through, but I'd say that we need to concentrate. That my actually idea with my wife when we have our meetings is to push more for biohazard, really,
Yeah.
because a lot of people don't know who to turn to. They don't know who to contact, sort of thing. They don't.
Yeah. So being that sort of name out there that people recognise and can pick the phone up or email
Yeah,
or scan a QR code and
yeah, or even if they're driving along, like our actually vans, the sign written up
yeah,
as a
absolutely.
buyer has a van, so they'd sit in the back of the traffic, they'd see that we do a lot of services, which will say cleaning, road traffic accidents, trauma cleaning, something different that they'd think, hang on a minute, my actually loved one has sort of passed away, who do I sort of go to? And
Mm.
then we remember seeing our name sort of thing, say, oh, actually, Mr. Mays will do that.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
actually give him a call.
Sounds good. Um, have you got any sort of words of advice or any pearls of wisdom to any business owners out there that want a bit of motivation or want to continue to sort of focus on the growth of their business? Any sort of observations that you've learned over the years that you can share with our listeners?
I'd always say with the motivation is always go out there and actually grab it because there is always an opportunity out there. There is for you.
Yeah.
Just like myself, sort of thing that I'm always constantly sort of actually on LinkedIn trying to find and link with people, sort of thing. Is it anybody that's actually starting a business or actually in a business? Always don't run before you can walk, sort of thing. I'd always say because that's what I always thought when I started my business that I'd quickly, rapidly put it up big, I'd say, but always sort of walk, don't run, sort of thing. Build it and just go forwards with it, I'd say.
Yeah, great advice. So you're talking about things like being proactive, going out there and
Yeah,
grabbing opportunities, taking action and actually doing something about it. Um, Accepting that you're sometimes going to need to learn new things, and actually before you can grow, you need to maybe learn more and have that sort of planned, sustainable growth that means you can control that growth rather than it control you.
yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so great. This has been really interesting. Where can our listeners go to find out a bit more about the services that you guys offer and maybe get in touch if they need anything from you?
So they can go on actually to Google and actually type in Bicester Maids,
Yeah,
or they can go on actually the website, which is actually www.actuallybistermaids.co.uk, or they can find me on actually LinkedIn with actually Bicester Maids, which would be under Michael Wilson, it would be. There is a range of ways that they can always find us now. There is.
sounds good. Michael, thank you again for taking the time out your busy day to join us.
That's
It's
all
been
right.
great to hear from you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.